I wish I was more ambivalent, but...
You don't have to pretend. I don't want you to pretend. There's no point in that.
I drive by your house, and I'm having these, like, literally anxiety attacks.
The courthouse doors swung open like the first breath before a storm. Cameras flashed, microphones were raised, and the words on every reporter's lips echoed through the marble halls. Kody Brown, charged with $1.8 million fraud. Inside, the air was heavy with disbelief. Security officers lined the aisle, their expressions stone cold as if already aware the day would spiral into chaos. The sister wives world, once built on love and unity, now stood cracked and trembling under the fluorescent courtroom lights. Kody entered, flanked by his attorney, his face pale but defiant. Behind him sat Robyn, tears already forming at the corners of her eyes, her hands clasped tight around a tissue she hadn't yet used. In the second row, Christine, Janelle, and Mary watched silently, women who had once called him husband, now witnesses to his downfall. The judge adjusted her glasses and stared down at Kody with eyes that had seen every kind of deceit but rarely this kind. "This court," she began, her tone cutting through the room like glass on stone, "has reviewed every account, every ledger, every transaction tied to your name, and the evidence is overwhelming." Kody didn't flinch, but his attorney's trembling hands told the truth he tried to hide. The sound of a gavel striking echoed. Reporters scribbled. Camera zoomed in. It was no longer a family story. It was national scandal, playing out live on court cam. In the hallway, whispers grew like wildfire. Is it true? Did he really steal from the family accounts? Robyn's name is on those checks too. Each question became a headline waiting to explode. A flashback rolled across the minds of everyone watching. The mansions, the land deals, the luxury vehicles. The image of the perfect plural family from TLC's Sister Wives had once felt untouchable. But tonight, those glossy smiles had turned into mugshots waiting to happen. Christine leaned forward, whispering to Janelle, "I told him the truth always finds its way out." Janelle nodded, eyes locked on Kody. He thought he was smarter than everyone else. The judge's voice rose again. "Mr. Brown, this isn't just about lost money, it's about betrayal of trust. Your wives, your fans, your own children believed in a man of faith. But what we see here is a man who manipulated that faith for profit." A murmur ran through the courtroom. Kody's jaw tightened. Robyn finally broke, her quiet sobs filling the tense silence. The cameras caught it all. The nation watched in real time as the patriarch of Sister Wives faced a reckoning no reality show could ever script. Outside, a storm brewed in the sky, thick clouds rolling over the courthouse like judgment itself. Christine walked past reporters, refusing to speak. But her face said everything. Pain, vindication, relief. "Kody Brown," the bailiff announced, "please stand." The entire courtroom froze. Kody rose slowly, his expression a fragile mix of pride and panic. His attorney whispered something, maybe a plea deal, maybe just the word breathe. But Kody's mind was already miles away. He could almost hear the whispers of the wives who'd left him, the voices of children who no longer called him dad. The judge's gavel slammed once more. "This court finds sufficient evidence to proceed with formal arrest under the charge of financial fraud exceeding $1.8 million in family and business funds." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Reporters surged forward. Robyn's scream echoed like a shatter of glass. Pure disbelief and heartbreak. "Kody, no, this isn't right. They're twisting everything." Two deputies moved in, gripping Kody by the arms. He didn't resist. His eyes stayed locked on the judge, then flicked briefly to the cameras. For the first time in years, the man who'd built his empire on control stood powerless. As handcuffs clicked around his wrists, the flashes began. The scene was raw, unedited, impossible to look away from. The patriarch of Sister Wives, the man who once boasted of guiding 4 families, was being led through the same courthouse hallways he'd once mocked for other people's mistakes. Christine turned away, whispering to herself, this was never about money, it was about lies. Mary sat motionless, her face pale as stone. She whispered only one thing to Janelle before walking out. Now the truth finally has a voice. Outside, reporters chased every reaction. Fans gathered near the barricades holding signs, "Justice for the wives." And karma always wins. Robyn emerged last, face hidden behind sunglasses, but the tremble in her hands betrayed her grief. This is not who he is. she cried to one reporter. He's been misunderstood, set up. He loved his family, but the reporter cut her off. Mrs. Brown, do you deny the bank transfers? The secret accounts in your name? Her silence said everything. The footage aired live across America, trending within minutes. #Kody Brown arrested, #sisterwives fraud, #Brown family downfall. Social media exploded with theories. Old interviews resurfaced, and even former friends began speaking out. The legend of the perfect polygamist family was unraveling thread by thread, under the harsh light of truth. As night fell, the courthouse lights dimmed, but the storm outside raged on. Kody sat in a holding cell staring at the wall. The sounds of raindrops mixed with the faint echo of his own words, the same ones he'd preached on TV for years. Family is everything. But now there was no family left to defend him. He thought of Robyn's tears, Christine's stare, Mary's silence, Janelle's quiet disappointment. Every decision, every dollar, every lie had led to this single irreversible moment. And as cameras outside continued rolling, a voiceover from the news echoed across every living room in America. Kody Brown, patriarch of the TLC series Sister Wives, has been arrested on charges of $1.8 million fraud. Sources close to the family claim this may be just the beginning of a larger financial investigation. The man who once controlled the story was now part of a story he could no longer rewrite. And somewhere deep in that silence, the weight of truth began to sink in. For the first time, Kody Brown realized, this wasn't a show anymore. It was Judgment Day. The courtroom returned to session the next morning, but the air was no longer just tense. It was electric. Every seat was taken, every journalist ready, every camera fixed on that single chair where Kody Brown sat, handcuffed, broken, but still wearing that defiant look he had mastered for years. The judge entered. Court is now in session for the continuation of State versus Kody Brown. Whispers died instantly. Robyn sat on the front bench, her trembling fingers clutched around a folded note Kody had given her before being taken into custody. It said, "Don't lose faith in me." But as the prosecution began its opening, that faith began to crumble piece by piece. The prosecutor, a sharp-voiced woman with years of courtroom fire behind her, stepped forward. "Your Honor, today we will present clear, documented proof that Mr. Brown diverted $1.8 million from joint family accounts, under false pretenses of property investments, all while continuing to receive funds from his television contracts and public appearances." She turned, pointing toward the projector screen. Exhibit A. Wire transfers dated within months of his televised statements claiming financial hardship. A large screen lit up, revealing screenshots of bank transactions, Kody's signature on every one of them. Gasps erupted. Mary covered her mouth. Christine whispered, "That's the family trust account." Kody leaned forward, shaking his head. "This is twisted. Those were joint expenses." But the prosecutor didn't stop. Exhibit B. Private accounts opened under Robyn Brown's name, receiving weekly transfers of undisclosed funds. All eyes turned to Robyn. Her tears returned instantly, streaming down as if every secret she'd hidden had just walked into the light. "I didn't know about these," she cried out, but the prosecutor continued, her tone steady and unforgiving. "Mrs. Brown, your signature appears on 2 of these documents. Would you like to explain?" Robyn's sob echoed through the chamber. Cameras zoomed in. The headlines were already writing themselves. The judge raised her hand. "Order. This courtroom will have order." But there was no order left. This was chaos. The collapse of a family empire playing out on national television. Christine's eyes filled with rage. "He took from all of us," she said to Janelle, voice shaking. "The homes, the kids' funds, everything we built together." Janelle nodded, gripping Christine's hand. "And he still said we didn't contribute enough. Now the world sees who he really is." The judge sighed, lowering her gaze to Kody. "Mr. Brown, these documents are not the result of accounting errors. They reveal intent. Systematic deception. You used family income and production bonuses for personal luxury, vehicles, land, jewelry, and private vacations." Kody's jaw tensed. "That's not true. I've taken care of everyone. This show," the judge cut him off sharply. "This show isn't on trial. You are." The courtroom fell silent again. As the prosecutor continued, another image appeared. this time a photo of a lavish vacation home. Purchased under a shell company connected to Mr. Brown's LLC, she said. Payments were made directly after deposit transfers from the family business account. Christine's face went pale. That's the property he said was for the family retreat, she whispered. Janelle shook her head, her eyes glistening. He never planned for us to see it. The judge looked up. Mr. Brown, do you deny ownership of this property? Kody hesitated, just long enough for the cameras to catch it. I don't remember the details of that transaction. The prosecutor smiled coldly. Of course you don't. Outside, the world was watching every second. Social media was ablaze with clips, hashtags flying. Hashtag Kody Brown trial, hashtag fraud scandal, hashtag sister wives downfall. In the gallery, Christine's daughters whispered among themselves, tears streaming. One of them muttered, "He used to say honesty was our foundation." The irony cut deeper than any verdict could. Inside, Robyn buried her face in her hands. Kody looked toward her, eyes desperate. I did this for us. For the family's future. But she couldn't look back anymore. The image of those wire transfers haunted her. Every dollar now a symbol of betrayal. Then came the moment that shattered everything. The prosecutor turned to the judge. Your Honor, with the court's permission, I'd like to play a recorded call between Mr. Brown and a financial advisor regarding these transfers. The judge nodded. Proceed. A voice echoed through the speakers. Unmistakably Kody's. Yeah, just move it into the secondary account. Robyn doesn't need to know the details. We'll balance it out later. Keep it quiet. Gasps erupted. Robyn froze, her lips trembling. He said I didn't need to know? Christine's face hardened. Now do you see, Robyn? We weren't lying. He played us all. Kody stood abruptly, shouting, that call was taken out of context. That's not the whole. Sit down, Mr. Brown, the judge commanded. But his words had already turned the courtroom into chaos. Reporters typed furiously, the audio clip spreading online within minutes. The judge's patience finally broke. This court will recess for 15 minutes before proceeding to the defense statement. But let me be clear, evidence this strong rarely lies. The gavel struck hard. Bang, bang, bang. Kody collapsed into his seat, breathing heavily, face red with frustration. Robyn was gone. She had quietly stood up and walked out during the commotion, tears streaking her cheeks. The cameras followed her, catching every second of her breakdown outside. I believed in him, she said between sobs. I thought we were building something real. I didn't know he was building lies. Inside, Kody leaned back in his chair, staring at the ceiling. He could hear Christine's voice faintly in the background talking to a reporter. He always said God was guiding him. Maybe now God's showing him the mirror. His attorney leaned over, whispering urgently, we'll fight this. We can still turn it around. Just stay calm. But Kody wasn't listening anymore. He was thinking about the cameras, the headlines, the public humiliation, and the realization that his empire, the image he'd spent decades crafting, was gone. Forever. When the session resumed, the courtroom felt colder. The judge's tone was sharper, the public quieter, the wives more distant. Kody Brown, she said, before we move to closing statements, do you have anything to say in your defense? He stood, trembling, then slowly looked around the room. His eyes locked on Christine, then on the empty chair where Robyn once Saturday. I never meant for this to happen, he said softly. I built everything for them. For my family. Maybe I got lost in the numbers, maybe I made mistakes. But I loved them. That's all I ever wanted. But the courtroom didn't respond with sympathy. Silence met his words. For the first time, Kody realized, love wasn't a defense. The judge leaned forward. Intent does not erase deceit. You built a kingdom of control, Mr. Brown, not love. Her words landed like final blows. The gavel hit again. This court will proceed to final verdict tomorrow morning. As the crowd dispersed, the cameras stayed locked on Kody, sitting alone, hands cuffed, the world outside erupting in judgment. That night, while rain pounded against the courthouse windows, the sister wives' story no longer felt like a TV show. It felt like tragedy. For women once bound by faith, now separated by truth. One man trapped by his own lies. And as the lights went out, the courthouse was quieter the next morning, but it wasn't peace. It was the silence that comes before something heavy falls. Outside, gray clouds hung low, casting long shadows over the courthouse steps. Reporters huddled under umbrellas, their voices cutting through the wind. Day 3 of State versus Kody Brown. New evidence expected to change everything. Inside, the tension was suffocating. Christine and Janelle arrived together, their eyes swollen from sleepless nights. Mary walked in behind them, distant, careful, as if still deciding whether she belonged to this story anymore. And Robyn? She was nowhere to be seen. Until the doors creaked open. And there she was, dark glasses, trembling hands, escorted by her sister. The crowd turned as if a ghost had entered. Robyn didn't look at Kody. Not once. The judge entered and gavelled once. Court will now resume. Counsel, I understand there is new evidence? The prosecutor stood, holding a sealed manila envelope. Yes, Your Honor. Last night, we received digital copies of internal communications between Mr. Brown and his former financial consultant. Files that were previously deleted but recovered through a forensic audit. Gasps again. The defense scrambled. Objection. These files are inadmissible without proper. Overruled, the judge said firmly. Let's see them. The courtroom lights dimmed as the projector screen flickered to life. An email thread appeared, dated 2 years earlier. Subject, transfer and silence. Christine's stomach turned. The message read, from Kody Brown to financial advisor, keep the secondary accounts under Robyn's LC. Tell the others we're in debt. It'll keep them quiet about withdrawals. Christine's getting suspicious. If she asks, say it's for property taxes. The words hit like a punch to the chest. Christine's eyes widened, tears burning behind them. That's what he told me. He said it was for taxes. Robyn covered her mouth in horror. He used my name to hide it? The room exploded with gasps. The judge's face hardened. This is beyond mismanagement. This is manipulation. Kody's voice cracked, shouting across the courtroom, that's not real. Those emails were forged. But everyone knew, it sounded too real not to be. The prosecutor turned to the screen again. Your Honor, may I continue? The judge nodded. Next came another email, one that silenced even the cameras. From Kody Brown to Robyn Brown, if it all falls apart, remember, the accounts are under your control. Move the money before they freeze it. Robyn's head dropped into her hands, her sobs filling the silence. Christine closed her eyes, whispering, oh my God. For years they'd believed his sermons about faith, honesty, unity. Now they saw what really held the family together, fear and control. The judge finally spoke. Mrs. Brown, do you confirm this email came from your husband? Robyn nodded weakly, tears still falling. Yes, it's his writing. I remember that night. He said it was just insurance, a precaution. The prosecutor turned sharply. A precaution to hide stolen funds? Robyn broke down completely. I didn't know what to believe anymore. Cameras caught every tear, every tremble. The image of a woman who had defended her husband to the world, now watching him collapse under his own lies. Christine stood up from her bench. Your Honor, may I speak? The judge hesitated, then nodded. Briefly. Christine stepped forward, her voice trembling but strong. For years he told us we were being ungrateful. That we didn't understand the burden of leadership. But this, she pointed to the screen, this wasn't leadership. It was theft. From his wives. From his children. From the faith we built our lives on. The room fell silent. Even Kody stopped breathing for a second. Christine's words carried more weight than any document. It was the voice of every woman who had believed in him, and every viewer who had watched their pain unfold on television. The judge sighed deeply. Mrs. Brown, thank you. You may step down. As Christine returned to her seat, the prosecutor whispered something to the bailiff, and moments later a new witness entered. A young man in his 30s, nervous but determined. State your name for the record, the judge said. Jacob Hill, forensic accountant. Mr. Hill, the prosecutor continued, can you explain what your team found? Jacob adjusted his glasses. We uncovered hidden offshore accounts linked to Kody Brown's company, Brown Family Enterprises. These accounts contain approximately $1.2 million in funds matching deposits from family business earnings. Gasps again. Christine's hand flew to her mouth. Mary whispered, Offshore accounts? He always said he hated that kind of thing. The prosecutor smiled faintly. Apparently, he didn't hate them enough. Kody stood face red. This is character assassination. I built this family from the ground up. You all lived under my roof because of my hard work. The judge slammed the gavel. Sit down, Mr. Brown. You will not turn this courtroom into a spectacle. He sat shaking with rage. For the first time, even his lawyer looked afraid. The prosecutor turned one last time. Your Honor, I believe this evidence, combined with the defendant's own communications, proves deliberate fraud and concealment beyond reasonable doubt. The judge leaned back, her tone sharp as steel. The court will deliberate for sentencing after recess. Outside chaos. News vans surrounded the courthouse. Reporters shouted into cameras, breaking news, hidden offshore accounts discovered in the Kody Brown fraud trial. Fans online were divided. Some wrote, he deserves this. Others begged, free Kody. But for the first time, even his supporters started questioning everything. Inside, Robyn sat alone, whispering to herself, I thought we were special. I thought God was blessing us. But the truth had finally stripped away the illusion. Christine, standing nearby, whispered softly, sometimes God's blessing is the truth, even when it hurts. Later that afternoon, when court resumed, the judge addressed Kody one final time. Mr. Brown, your actions have left emotional and financial scars across multiple families. You manipulated faith and family for gain. You lied under oath. You deceived your partners. Kody stared blankly, his voice hollow. I never stopped loving them. The judge nodded slowly. Love without honesty isn't love, Mr. Brown. It's control. She looked down at her papers, then at the cameras. This court will deliver its final verdict tomorrow morning. The gavel struck once. And just like that, the courtroom emptied, leaving only Kody behind, staring into the silence that followed. As the wives walked outside, a gust of cold wind swept through the plaza. Christine turned back toward the courthouse, eyes wet but strong. It's over, she said quietly. But it's also the beginning of healing. Mary nodded, whispering, we gave him years. Now we take back our peace. In the distance, the courthouse clock chimed, slow, heavy, final. Each ring echoing like a countdown to Judgment Day. And as cameras followed the wives into the fading afternoon light, America held its breath for the verdict to come. Tomorrow, Kody Brown would finally learn the price of every lie. The courtroom is silent. The walls seem to breathe with the weight of everything that's just been said. Robyn's tears have dried into streaks of salt across her cheeks. Mary's hands tremble as she clasps them together. Janelle can't look at anyone. Christine just stares forward, not at Kody but through him, as if she's finally seeing the ghost she's been haunted by for years. And there sits Kody Brown, the man who once called himself a patriarch of faith, a father of strength, a husband of four. Now he's just another defendant in chains. The judge clears his throat. The sound echoes like thunder in a cathedral. Mr. Brown, he begins, his voice slow, heavy, deliberate. You have been found guilty of fraud, falsifying financial records, and the misappropriation of family funds. You have betrayed trust, not just of your wives but of the court and the public. Kody lowers his head. The camera pans slowly. You can see the moment his confidence collapses. His once fiery arrogance turns to pure, hollow regret. The judge continues, you are hereby sentenced to 7 years in federal custody and fined $8 million in restitution. The room erupts. Reporters shout. Cameras flash. Mary gasps, covering her mouth as if the words themselves have cut her. Robyn screams, no. Please, you don't understand. Her voice cracking into sobs. Christine just stands, calm, almost serene. Her voice low but steady, justice. Finally. Outside, the world is watching. Court Cam Live broadcasts the feed across every major network. Social media floods, hashtags explode. Hashtag Kody Brown arrested, hashtag sisterwives trial, hashtag justice for Christine, hashtag glow gossipy. It's more than a scandal now. It's a reckoning. Back inside, Kody turns toward his wives as security moves in, his eyes, red, swollen, desperate. Meet, there's one last time. You were supposed to stand with me, he says weakly. We were a family. Christine answers without hesitation. No, Kody. We were your empire. You just forgot we were human. The bailiffs move forward. The clinking of chains fills the room. The same hands that once built homes, raised children, and preached love, now restrained behind his back. Outside, a cold wind moves through the courthouse steps. Cameras capture every second. Robyn crying into her hands, Mary walking away, and Christine standing beneath the gray sky, head held high. She whispers to herself, not for the cameras, not for the world, but for closure, this is the end of the lies. The screen fades slowly, black and white footage rolling over flashbacks. Kody smiling at family dinners, weddings, baby announcements, then his face transforming into that of a man cornered by truth. The music builds, slow, haunting, cinematic. A narrator's voice cuts through, from the dream of unity to the nightmare of deception. One family's story became America's warning. Love built the Browns. Lies destroyed them. Cut to the courthouse seal. Then to Christine walking toward a waiting SUV. Reporters shout questions, but she just looks straight ahead, one last time saying, "You can't build forever on secrets." The screen fades to black. The Glow Gossip USA logo appears in glowing gold letters. Studio microphone, narrator, final words. And that, viewers, is how the curtain falls on the Brown dynasty, not with applause, but with the sound of chains and truth echoing through a courtroom. If you believe justice was finally served, hit that like button. If you followed this family's story from love to loss, share your thoughts below. And don't forget, subscribe to Glow Gossip USA, where every secret eventually finds the light.